you will know that in the last month they've changed the rule about holding the ball. It seems like it doesn't exist anymore. Unless it's a run-down tackle, then you might get it. Now, I think to myself, why has this happened?
It's going to sound disrespectful, and I don't want it to be disrespectful. But how can Laura possibly put that explanation out and think that the football public will say, oh, yeah, no, fine. Fully agree. Yeah, that's understandable. That's codswallop, Jared. The football public's being treated like children. Absolute children.
It seems the AFL has a bit of a problem here. After North Melbourne's loss to Collingwood, a few incidents in the game came under the spotlight. The first was that obvious 50-metre penalty which should have been awarded to Bailey Scott. And Nick Dacos holding the ball call, as well as some throws, were the other 2 points people had as incorrect decisions. But it was that 50-metre penalty that drove people mad. The AFL's explanation of it was even worse. Laura Kane, the AFL's GM of football, said, "It was a confusing situation and I understand why people are confused and left wanting to understand what happened," Kane told Footy Feed Extra. "You can see on the vision, Bailey Scott takes the mark, the umpire blows his whistle, and one of 2 calls could be made. It could be play on immediately, or it could be stand, which would indicate the mark had been paid. Neither of these 2 calls were made in the immediate moment after the free kick has been blown, and Bailey takes 4 steps or so inbound and looks to play on, so the correct call should have been play on initially." It was an embarrassing explanation that made no sense. The umpire blew the whistle for a mark, the 2 Collingwood players lost their heads and charged forward over the mark, leaving Scott to look at the umpire with clear confusion. The AFL only adds to this umpire and rule problem with these types of hocus pocus explanations. The really bad thing is, this is only one of way too many games being influenced by umpire decisions and non-decisions. Let's go through some errors that were clearly there. First off, in round 6 is the Sam Draper holding the ball. It was a critical loss for Adelaide at the time and was a clear holding the ball free kick. It didn't lose Adelaide the game, but cost them a chance to win it. Round 11 saw the Bulldogs vs Swans game ended by a Latham Vandermeer 50-metre penalty against. This type of incident is barely called 50 metres, and I don't think Hayden McLean had even marked the ball by the time Vandermeer reached him. Round 13 saw Elliot Yeo get called holding the ball. It's perhaps the low point for officiating this season and goes against the foundation of Australian rules football. Credit to Jai Simpkin and North, who took advantage. The same round saw Mac Andrew get incorrectly called for holding Max King. The AFL admitted this was wrong, but it did cost the Suns a lead in an important away game. And if you include the Bailey Scott 50-metre non-call, it's 5 games this year heavily influenced at the end by umpire decisions. And this is without the 50-50 ones, like Rankin running too far, Cameron's non-advantage in round 9, and the Jordan Clark descent call. It's caused analysts, reporters and AFL greats to wonder why so many important games this season have been error-filled and question the actual standard of officiating, not just with the umpires, but those in charge of the laws of the game. So what are some of the possible reasons why the umpiring standard has seen a decline this season especially? First off, the rules have to be in focus. There is no better example than this year when the holding the ball interpretation was changed in the middle of the season. It just put so much pressure on every umpire to adjust in just 1 week. If you change the ruling in the off season, then they obviously have the time to learn the changes. Doing it mid-year always causes an overcorrection, and that Elliot Yeo holding the ball is the prime example of overdoing a new rule interpretation. In this sense, you have to have sympathy for the umpires who already need to focus on technical aspects of the game like standing on the mark, ruck contests and descent calls. It's a tough gig made even tougher. The AFL has also been vocal over the past couple seasons about the national umpire shortage. This mainly affects the local competitions across the country, but surely would feed into the AFL itself. The talent pool for umpires is just like players. Some are better than others, so with less participating at all levels, surely it means the overall quality in the AFL isn't as good as there are less umps to choose from. So is it possible that AFL umpires just aren't as good as they were before? From watching the games over the past couple weekends, a few things got my attention. In the North Melbourne and Collingwood game, an umpire paid a holding the ball free kick to Harry Sheasel. However, Collingwood players kept playing on and advantage was paid even though it was a North Melbourne free kick. Play was stopped and the error was corrected.
Right at the back, in amongst all of that. So his brother goes 50th yesterday, and no sympathy for the debutant. They're going to come away though, the Pies. It has to come back, doesn't it? Yeah, it has to come back.
The other was on Friday night when Carlton played Geelong. At halftime, Jeremy Cameron clearly went off his line after the siren, which should signal play on and therefore no score. But he kicked the goal and it was counted on the scoreboard. These are just two instances that you can say are nitpicking, but seem to be concentration errors by the umpires at the time. A mistake with holding the ball or a high tackle here and there is accepted, but these two errors seem to be down to a lack of focus and looks even worse when 4 umpires are out there. The use of 4 umpires was pointed out by Hall of Fame inductee Michael Graham, who reminisced about his playing days. When he was running around for Sturt, there was 1 umpire and 2 boundary umpires, much different to the current day, in which Graham joked there were still plenty of mistakes made. He's not wrong. Since 2023, when the 4th one was added, has the officiating really improved? Well, from recent times, we would have to say no. Sure, they cover more zones on the field and allow less running individually, but the results haven't improved. Sometimes less is more. So with all this negativity around umpires, what are some possible solutions to help them out? Well, surely the AFL, before the season starts, locks in the interpretation of specific rules. If, for example, they decide to be harsh on pushing the back calls, then set the new standard in December, make it public to the fans, and then train the umpires on how you want the new ruling to be. It helps fans understand slight tweaks and gives umpires the whole off-season to look at the footage and adapt. It's far more reasonable than giving them 1 week. To the umpires themselves, well, we can't do much if they simply aren't great. The AFL can give incentives and create programs for new umpires to try and expand participation, but at the top level, the pressure and responsibility is extreme, as it is for every club, coach and player. I guess all you can do is try to find the ones who can handle it best and make the correct decisions. Blaming the umps for a loss is a quick and sometimes sarcastic way to deal with a loss for a fan. In 2024, maybe not so much. It feels like most AFL fans aren't overly satisfied with the umpiring standard right now, and those in control, mainly Laura Kane, who has copped a lot of heat in the past month. Like with most businesses that have issues, the problems often start at the top and sprinkle their way down. Right now, this seems to be happening at AFL headquarters, and without change there, it's unlikely much will change on the field.